Hello, people. Hope you all are having a fabulous day. I figured I would jump on for a few minutes and share a few thoughts like I typically do. And so today's video is talking about how we measure our growth or progress, right? So I'm sitting here thinking about the season that I'm in, right? And so for any of you who watch my videos, you know that I shared at maybe my last video that I was in this season where I am working on marriage prep, right? So I'm preparing myself to get married, and I am somehow struggling with abandonment, right? So I've always had abandonment issues. That part is not new. But what's interesting in this season is that I've been in a really good place, right? So I'm happier, I'm loving myself more, I'm seeing all this progress as it relates to confidence and blah, 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 right? So wouldn't really think that I would be struggling with abandonment. And yet, here we are, right? So I started dating, right? I'm not even in a relationship yet, right? I simply started dating, and it's as if me dating has really triggered like next level abandonment issues, right? I got mood swings. I got unrealistic expectations. I'm just all over the place, right? So I've had a rough couple of days in terms of managing all of these fears and concerns and things that have come up, right? So as I was sitting here reflecting on my current state, right? So I'm in a better place, and I've worked through a few things, and as I started thinking about what I've done in order to work through some of these things, I started to get impressed, right? I'm like, man, you handled this better than you did the last time when you were struggling, right? So I'm just thinking about really measuring my growth and my progress, right? So when I think about how I handled it this time, right? So one, I went to God, right? And not just really went to God, because I go to God all the time, but he woke me up early at an ungodly hour. Let's not talk about it. I love Jesus. We just gone. Okay. So he woke me up early, and I talked to him about it, right? So I was very vulnerable, and I told him how I was feeling, and he met me where I was at. So that's number one, right? The fact that I'm in my feelings and I talk to God about it is a step, right? It might not seem like a step because I'm always talking about God and how I talk to God, but there are levels to that, right? Sometimes we're just going to God asking him for material things, or just thanking him, or doing some surface kind of things, and not always being honest about how we feel and what we want. And so the fact that I was able to be 1,000% honest, the fact that I was able to cry and he just let me get in his lap, that's progress, right? And then on top of that, I reflected on a conversation that I had with the gentleman that I'm dating. And when he asked about coming over and just checking in, I declined, right? So that I wanted him to come. Listen, I'm not going to go there. But the short version is I wanted him to come. But because I was in a mood, right, I didn't feel like it was an appropriate time for him to come. That him coming would have led to an argument, or it would have been awkward. It just would have been unnecessary. So in my normal state, right, like years past, I would have said yes because I got abandonment issues. I want you to be here all the time. But I was able to make a wiser choice and say, now's not really the time, right? Like, so that was a big deal, right? Again, might not sound like a big deal to you, but it's a big deal to me, right? So I thought about that and how I handled that so much better. I thought about how the next day I was still frustrated and angry, and I still communicated with him, right? I put my pettiness in my pocket, right? Again, may sound small to somebody, but instead of being in my feelings and being angry, I sent a text message, I called, I said a little bit, right? Just to keep the lines of communication open, and mostly because I know I'm in my feelings, right? He ain't did nothing wrong. I mean, he did a little bit, right? But some of this is me, and so I gotta own my side of the street. And so because my focus is on me and not on what he did, I have to work through my unrealistic expectations and just being petty. And then the last thing that I would bring up in terms of just seeing myself be impressed, right, is the day that I wasn't feeling great and I was just in a mood and all sad and blah, blah, blah. I came home. And you know how we do sometimes, women. We cut sad, sappy music on, or we put a love story on, or we watch some TV that's about relationship, right? So I came home. I'm not a big TV person, but I decided I ain't doing nothing. I'm unmotivated. Fuck my life, right? And I cut this show on that I know I shouldn't watch because it's about relationship. But I do it anyway because I don't care. So I watch one episode, and usually this is one of the shows that I binge watch, right? So I'm the type of person where I go months without watching TV, and then I might binge watch 12 shows back to back. So I watched one episode, was getting ready to watch another, and decided, Lachelle, get your black self up. This ain't how we getting ready to handle this, right? So I forced myself to get up and do some other things that I need to do. So that's progress, right? And so as I was just sitting here thinking about growth and progress, I just wanted to remind somebody else that progress is really about doing better and handling things better than you did 2 months ago and 6 months ago and 2 years ago and 10 years ago. Many times we have these goals of perfection, right? So if I'm on a diet and I have any cookies at all, or if I cuss at all, or if I yell at my kids at all, then I'm just going down the tubes. But the truth is, we should really be measuring ourselves by our past behaviors, past attitudes, and not by some arbitrary rules that other people set up for us, or some arbitrary rules that we set up for ourselves. Because the goal is progress, not perfection. So cut yourself a damn break, right? Keep pushing, keep moving. And be sure to measure yourself by the behaviors that you've had in the past. I pray that they're better than they were before. Peace.